Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
I think it's like
people deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. As the big man Ian Wright just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. If you haven't smashed the like button or subscribed, what are you doing? Appreciative to my regular supporters. Journey to 70k is alive and kicking. Now, it's the 22nd of January. Arsenal's still not confirmed any signings. I know that's not what we want to hear. Nonetheless, people, there is some speculation, some rumors, etc., etc. As you all know, 99.9% of them are BS, but it presents fantastic talking points, people. So let's do exactly that. Football.London have been speaking about the Real Sociedad central midfielder Martin Zubimendi, who is a player that's been coveted by Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Arsenal, and actually in recent days and weeks, Aston Villa and Athletic Bilbao. He has a release clause of around 50-odd million quid. You know, Arsenal have previously tried to sign him allegedly last January, and for one reason or another, he hasn't wanted to depart. Now, as we know, Kieran Toney went on loan to Sociedad in the summer. Hopefully, indirect conversations happen, and he's a player I would love at the football club, people. You know, he's a fantastic Spanishy kind of number 6, very good technical level, really good ball anticipation skills. I wouldn't say he's the most physical of man, but he really reads the game well, and he's a player I actually really like, people. Arsenal highly unlikely to complete 53 million Martin Zubimendi transfer in the January window. The Gunners have looked at the Spanish international as a long-term target in the defensive midfield position, but are unlikely to be able to complete a deal for him this month. You'd imagine the quicker we sign a 6, the quicker you can try and attempt this new look Declan Rice in the 8 role, which begs the question why we sign Kai Havertz beyond the obvious. But apparently, Football.London understand he's unlikely to join Arsenal this month. We kind of knew that. Apparently, the Spanish midfielder is a target for Arsenal, who are looking for a long-term solution in the defensive midfield position. The club invested a club record 105 million Declan Rice last summer, but beyond the England international, the future is uncertain. Thomas Partey has missed much of the season due to a spate of muscle injuries, the most recent of which has seen him miss nearly 3 months with a thigh strain. So when he's fit, a lot of us would like to see Partey, Rice and Odegaard, but when he's fit, is he going to be able to stay fit? Which is a whole nother story. And Thomas Partey in another video. We've been here before, but how long is it going to take him to get back to his best? And we're in the run, you know, we're in the midst of the season. There are some rumors who say he could be back for Nottingham Forest. How many minutes is he able to compete? And what is the willingness of Arsenal to blood him in, really and truly, really? You know, he's not even been a factor this season, really and truly. As we know, the Ghanaian is on the wrong side of 30, as it says here, and he'll have just 1 year remaining on his contract in North London. Arsenal are willing to listen to offers for him in the first part of last summer and would be open to a sell if a suitable bid came in. Now, Saudi Arabia is one thing, and it seems like everyone but us is able to flog people. Thomas Partey, you know, we've given new contracts to several players. We have done big spending in the last 2 seasons in the summer, and that's probably going to, you know, continue. I think in terms of quality, Thomas Partey is amazing, but in terms of him being on the wrong side of 30, his contract running down, his inconsistencies with injuries, and the fact that he's on big wages, there's clearly a willingness to move him on. I wouldn't advocate to sell him in January, especially if a target doesn't come in. Now, in the summer, you'd imagine, a bit like last summer, we'd be open to letting him depart the club. But is there necessarily going to be offers for him? And if they are, logically speaking, obviously a year can change things. But, you know, Arsenal are not going to get anywhere near the 45-odd million quid we spent on Thomas Partey. But if you're a prospective buyer and you can't get him on the cheap, if he's got a year left on his deal, surely you just let him run down his deal at Arsenal and agree something in January where he can, you know, agree a pre-contract, or just wait the whole season and pick him up on a free transfer. I don't know, people. Jorginho had a great cameo on the weekend and actually had a great game in our defeat in the FA Cup, in my opinion. Is out of contract at the end of the season. As things stand, Arsenal do have the option to extend the Italian's deal by a further 12 months, but yet to make a decision over to trigger that clause, whether to trigger that clause. The 32-year-old has expressed a desire to return to Italy before the end of his career. And at 32, you've got a couple of years left, but I'm sure he wants to go to Italy. I'm sure Saudi money would tempt him. And while he's an Italian international, obviously he's a Brazilian, so maybe the possibility of returning to Brazil. I wouldn't advocate letting Partey and Jorginho go, even if we do what I would love to see, and that's another number 8 and a 6 to tie into what we've got with Declan Rice, and I guess the Fabio Vieira, Smith Rowe, and Kai Havertz of this world, people. So we'll have to see. El Nene, who I like the guy, really shouldn't be at the club if we're trying to move forward respectfully. Will also be allowed to leave on a free in the summer. The Egyptian has stated his desire to stay at Arsenal, but has interest from Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Him and Cedric Suarez have been linked with a move to Turkey in recent days. And there has been some rumors on social media that Thomas Partey actually has a clause like Jorginho to extend his Arsenal career by a further year. But obviously, I'm just a fan. I can't verify any of that. With that in mind, Arsenal have their eyes on an incoming in the midfield. Arsenal have their eyes on an incoming in the midfield. Sorry. Zubimendi is among the targets. They've also looked at Douglas Luiz, which Douglas Luiz will have 2 years left on his deal in the summer, but money talks. A deal this month is highly unlikely to happen, though. Real Sociedad would be open to selling the Spanish international, who has a £53 million release clause. Arsenal, meanwhile, have a good relationship with Real Sociedad, obviously, as we've spoken about, loaning Kieran Tierney over there. Zubimendi, however, is keen to stay with Sociedad, who have a Champions League round of 16 clash against PSG on the horizon. So if anything, if you have any chance to get him, whether that be Arsenal, Manchester United, Bilbao, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich have been linked as well, you have to probably wait until the summer. Such a deal would also be difficult for Arsenal to do this month due to financial limitations. Having invested over 200 million on new transfers last summer, the Gunners are wary of profit and sustainability rules. They must also use funds to turn David Raya's loan deal from Brentford permanent for a fee of 27 million, which would make it 30 million because we've given them 3 million in a loan fee. Arsenal remain open and alert to the prospect of strengthening their squad this month. At the time of writing, it is not thought there are any incoming deals close. So we've kind of heard this rhetoric surrounding the football club for a while. We have been linked with De Ligt in January. I don't think anybody expects him to arrive at the carpet. For what it's worth, though, he has fallen down the pecking order in, Thomas Tuchel's plans. And Thomas Tuchel, for what it's worth, has been bigging up De Ligt, people. He said they're planning with him. He's a top player and a top guy. He's just come back from an injury with a national team and missed all of pre-season. They then said they played him too early in the Super Cup and he was injured. Again, I don't think anyone wants to sell key players. Ivan Toney, who had a dream return for Brentford, scoring a free kick and forever linked with Arsenal. Apparently, he likes the idea of moving to Arsenal, which anyone who listens to Ivan Toney or any platform that gives him an opportunity to speak, he makes no secret of his ambitions to move to a club competing for honours, with the greatest of respects to Brentford, people. Apparently, Toney is keen to a switch to Arsenal when he moves on to pastures new. We've been told it's 100 million to get him in January, which would obviously be overpriced. And we know Arsenal and Chelsea are the two teams that have primarily been linked with him, people, in that regards. But for what it's worth, Dean Jones has said the most probable outcome is that it is the summer window in which he moves. I genuinely do believe he likes the idea of moving to Arsenal. I think that reading between the lines, we can quite easily see that he's open-minded about it. But if he was actually going to make the move, I can't believe for 1 second that Chelsea wouldn't be tabling an offer at the same time. Just like the Mudryk move to Chelsea, as an example, Arsenal are sometimes convinced they're going to get a player, but they don't. When it's 50-50 for a player, there's also the possibility they don't get the deal over the line. Arsenal could argue that everyone thought that Rice was going to Chelsea, but they got him. You could put that forward, but it would be a big sell to Ivan Toney to the Emirates. We'll have to wait and see whether they can do it. And I mean, he said it there, but, I don't think you can rule out Ivan Toney running down his contract, maybe signing a new deal at Brentford with a release clause, or agreeing a significantly lower transfer in the summer away from 100 million. I think Brentford know that they're not going to get 100 million in the summer for him, and he does seem one of the more attainable strikers. Anyone that will listen, he makes clear he would like to leave potentially in January or the summer if the offer is right, while being respectful to Brentford. 18 months left on his deal, has changed agents, is Premier League proven, and is of the right old age. And, I don't think Dean Jones is lying there with the Mudryk sort of stuff and the Declan Rice and actually Saliba when we signed signed him, even though that was under a different regime. It can burn you, but it could also work. But we'll have to see, really and truly. Ivan Toney is set to stay at Brentford until the end of the season and prioritise making a summer move as he heads into the final year of his contract. That is what the Guardian have said, to echo what we've just read. Allegedly, Graham Bailey, people of HITC Football, said Arsenal remain interested in signing Vlahovic as the Italian Giants attempt to get a new contract finalised. And as we know, when it comes down to players negotiating new contracts, not just in relation to Arsenal, you see a bunch of these rumours about him leaving. Arsenal need a striker. We tried to get him before. Juventus are trying to commit him. There you have it, really and truly. I mean, I know you lot saw Vlahovic in the last couple of games. He's been on fire, you know, between Vlahovic, Osimhen, Ivan Toney. Just below that, because they're more development sort of strikers, Ivan Ferguson, Sesko, Boniface. Would love anyone at the carpet. We need another number 9. We need a 9. We need a winger. We need some midfield reinforcements. And we probably need one more defensive body. And we need to begin the scouting for a number 2 goalie, because unless a miracle happens, you would imagine Aaron Ramsdale is going to depart in the summer, people, in which we're going to need to make some money. Speaking of midfielders, Ezekiel Fernandez has been linked with Arsenal. Now, I don't know nothing about this guy too religiously. Looks like he has a good technical level. Was linked with Liverpool in, you know, the last few months of last year. Beyond that, I don't know, people. He looks decent on YouTube, but ain't got an informed opinion. Boca Juniors, 21 years of age, South American. That is right up my street, though. But for what it's worth, Boca Juniors defensive midfielder Ezekiel Fernandez, age 21, could also end up in the Premier League, since Arsenal have been following him. Arsenal scouts are in Venezuela to observe Fernandez amid interest from Arsenal. Boca are fearful of what the future of Ezekiel could hold. Nevertheless, they remain firm on their 15 million valuation. If he really is good and can help us and has potential and all of that, 15 million, I know we're broke, allegedly due to FFP. Surely we could find that for the 21-year-old, really and truly. They've just lost Barco to Brighton. It's a bit different because he had a release clause. Don't know if he has a release clause. Arsenal, and like every club, are interested in everyone. Being interested and putting bids and talking to agents are a completely different thing. Every club is interested in everyone. Romano has spoken on Smith Rowe. It's a concrete possibility to see Smith Rowe approached by clubs before the end of January, which we've seen already. He was linked with West Ham. My feeling is that it's going to be complicated for him to leave because Arsenal are only open to a permanent transfer. A loan makes no sense. Also, Arteta is very happy with the player and he's happy at Arsenal. If they receive an important proposal, it could be a possibility, but otherwise I see him staying at Arsenal in this transfer window. It really doesn't make sense unless we're going to bring in a midfielder. And I don't think a loan makes sense as well, unless you're sending him on loan to put himself in the shop window, kind of get back to that form when he became a regular, and sell him for more money than we can probably leverage at this moment in time. Again, talking on contracts, Sane is contracted until 2025, and Bayern Munich need to get a move on with that. He is in relatively decent form, so I'd be wary of links to Leroy Sane, sorry. But for what it's worth, Liverpool, Arsenal and Spurs have allegedly been showing an interest in Sane. Apparently, according to Graham Bailey, Arsenal had scouts at the Bayern Leverkusen game, which I don't think were alone. Xavi Simons, Openda, Jeremy Frimpong, and Ezekiel Palacios were also on the Gunners' radar. So there you have that. And it's not just Arsenal. Arsenal, Liverpool, City and United all sent scouts to watch one of the biggest games in Europe this weekend. Logically speaking, if you've been scouting these players individually, you probably want to see how they perform in big games. Smash the like button if you haven't, people. Allegedly, Jorginho has interest from Besiktas. Apparently, first contact has been made from Besiktas for Arsenal midfielder Jorginho. Besiktas' opinions about Jorginho are positive after a recommendation. Again, I wouldn't advocate selling Jorginho in January, especially if we're not going to bring someone in. We're already down to our bare bones and playing a dangerous game where it comes to fitness and just having bodies available. It does not make sense, really and truly. Kyrgios' agent has played down talk of him leaving the club, people. Jacob is an Arsenal player. There are no signals that the club want to get rid of him. I don't think anything will happen in the winter transfer window. There you have it. And it's almost, well, it is Jorginho, Trossard and Kyrgios' anniversary because a year's flown by. They've been here a year. Obviously, the exact date in January, I'm not sure, but there you have it. And even though Kyrgios not really convinced every Arsenal fan, probably hasn't convinced the manager with the lack of opportunities afforded, even with Zinchenko's historic form of recent at left back. Obviously, breaking ahead of Gabriel and Saliba is going to be a difficult task. One of the best partnerships in world football and two of the best centre-halves in world football. I'm not saying they're world-class and all this jazz, but yeah, people. But despite that, he still draws interest, allegedly, from AC Milan, Napoli, Inter, and all of these clubs. So depending on what we do in the market and what our team looks like in the summer, maybe, you know, if he hasn't convinced, maybe we can get our 20 million euros odd back and make bank and just maybe get someone who is a bit more convincing. I'm not too sure. Arsenal have been linked with Camavinga. In fact, Liverpool and Manchester United as well as us has been. I'm sure every fan of all those clubs, I definitely speak for Arsenal fans and myself, who wouldn't like Camavinga, but this is a man you probably need to buy when he was in France before obviously he's at Real Madrid really. And Real Madrid have the stars of tomorrow: Camavinga, Bellingham, you know, Tchouameni, you know, Arda Güler now, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo could potentially get Haaland and Mbappe one day. You know, Valverde isn't the oldest. Got no reason to leave Real Madrid. If it were to happen, it would be amazing. But I don't think anyone's going to give that any food for thought. Potentially sign him in Football Manager and FIFA. So there you have that. Apparently, according to reports, Arsenal have set their sights on signing Porto standout Ivan Nilsson, who they've identified as their new main target. Now, obviously, if we're looking at strikers, we're looking all over the continent, or all over continent's not the best one, all over the world. We have been allegedly, according to Football Transfers, we've set our sights on signing the Porto man as we look to boost our attacking output. And apparently the report adds, we're told that the Gunners' new scout, Paulo Javier, has especially been brought in for his expertise in the South American players and is now looking at another Brazilian to possibly lead the line for the Gunners next season. I'm all for that, really and truly, if we could do what needs to be done. Allegedly, Arsenal will need to pay 75 million euros, in brackets 64 million quid, if we were to get him, people. So I don't know how that's concerned. I mean, we probably want a defender in. One who has come in. Omar Rekic is, you know, his loan spell at Wigan has come to an end, people. No clue why it hasn't been permanently extended. Maybe it's due to injuries or not necessarily convincing. He has made 14 appearances this season, people, and contributed to 7 victories and 6 assists. So, you know, we hope the 22-year-old can find another loan, because I don't think playing under 21s football is going to help him. But we'll have to see how that develops, people. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. Road to 70,000. Check out the rest of the videos as well, people. Follow on the socials. Most importantly, though, stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll link up again soon. Don't forget to leave a comment after the video. Like and subscribe once again. God bless you all. Safe.
There's always just that active red flag, defending. I think it's like